Hi, my name is Jamie Lee, also known as Zen Living Chick. Welcome to another episode. Today I'm here with Susan Greif. She is owner of Art Mends Hearts, and she's also a creative transformational coach. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this session with you. It's going to be fun.
So your background is so interesting and your company is so interesting. So why don't you tell me a little bit about, what's behind Art Men's Hearts and also your mission?
What's behind Art Men's Hearts is the use of using all forms of the creative and the healing arts to help women and children find emotional freedom through the creative, expressive, and the healing arts. I'd like them to find emotional freedom through so they can get through the ravages of depression and trauma and anxiety, eating disorders, loss, grief, and learning disabilities as well. So I went through my own journey, and that's where I came up with this. I find that art makes our thoughts and emotions more perceptible and more tangible, so we can actually see what our issues are, what our subconscious is telling us. There's no hiding there because I analyze art and I see what's missing, what's odd, what's different, and I start questioning my clients, and that brings awareness. Awareness is a very, very important step into making your transformation.
That's awesome. So, kind of compare it for me, if you could, to traditional therapy. I know you kind of did a little bit, but just get into that a little bit more.
In my experience, we tend to go to a therapist, and we can vent, we can lie, we can omit. And that's why I feel that when we draw or we move, I use movement, I use journaling as well to create awareness, and our subconscious really comes up, and there's no hiding it. And taking art, and for instance, I don't have one with me, but a woman I know, one of my clients, she is complaining she's invisible. She's lost connections with a lot of her relationships. So I asked her to draw a picture of her in her childhood, and she's the only child, so she drew a picture of her parents. And she kept staring at her drawings. I don't see me. I don't see me. I can't draw me. So she doesn't see herself. So if she is invisible to herself, and we mirror ourselves in others in the world. So if we don't feel like we're visible, we can't expect other people to see us as well. So, and so you don't get that. I mean, that's session one. You don't get that with your therapist. And the other thing I do that's different than therapists is that when my clients leave, I email them a follow-up, which includes a synopsis of what we discussed, whatever experiential they did, my analysis and my thoughts, and homework assignments, because they must journal during the week. Because I don't want to go into a therapist session, vent for an hour, leave wondering, what did you just talk about? Totally leave it out of your mind all week, and go back to the therapist the following week and vent again. And this can go on for months and years for some people. So I actually want to see the transformation. I want to see the transformation. And it goes week by week. There's so much that happens so quickly in how I help my clients.
Sure. And what kind of issues do you feel, or do you help, I should say?
I think most of them are anxiety, past trauma, a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder. I also work with children Holocaust survivors, so I'm dealing with intergenerational post-traumatic stress disorder as well. Depression, grief, loss, relationship issues is a big one too. And women, trying to figure out what their next stage in life is.
Sure, I could see that. So, sort of walk me through a session, so somebody comes to you and they sit down in front of you, and, what's sort of the very first thing that you have them do, or how do you get into the art process, if you will?
Okay, so it really depends on what their situation is. But one of the first art process we do is called family kinetic drawing, where I have my clients draw their family when they were 5 years old. They say our first memory is when we were five. So for each member does something, and so we ask them to draw a picture of you when you're five and your family members. And what's really interesting is I'll show you like one drawing that one of my clients drew. And this is a daughter of Holocaust survivor. So I'm going to show you this and understand her trauma. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a
Not
picture of herself in the shower. If you see it, I'm going to go here. This is a shower picture, her drawing. This is her sister. Now, this is in a closed box, which is her shower. I'll bring it a little closer. And the only place that's open in the shower box is their hands where they can connect. There's the mom's eyes staring at her daughters, both of them. Both daughters are crying, and the girl in the shower, who is the client, she was clothed. And there's her father here, and his back is towards them. And he has no hands and no feet, so he's rendered helpless, and they're saying, "Sorry, girls, I can't help you." So what's interesting about this story is that this mother would stare at her daughter's shower until the daughter was old enough to leave the house. And therefore, she was like, here she's dressed, I guess for privacy. And I asked her where was her mother during the Holocaust, and she says, well, she was in Auschwitz. And she said, well, what was her job? She said, oh my God, she wasn't aware. She says, her mother was the person who had to clean out the showers. Wow. I don't know if you're familiar, the showers were really gas chambers where they killed them. So her mother's trauma of fear of like showers and deaths in showers, and it made it such a horrible experience for my clients that all these years, like her bathroom was always like a scary place for her to be. And I know this is very simple, but I mean, one day she just sends me, we talked about, we went through a big process, and it really was, we worked together maybe like 20 sessions. One day she showed me her new bathroom. She created life in her bathroom, color. She said, all those years her curtains are always closed because she had such a negative feeling about her shower. So now her bathroom became her sanctuary. But she had lots of issues with her mother, and until you're ready to understand and empathize with those that who you got so angry with, you can't forgive and you can't let go. So you got to understand, you got to go through empathy and understanding, and then you can forgive and let go. And to this point, she said to me, after she left working with me, like soon after, she says she's having a granddaughter, and she decides she wants her daughter to name the child after her own mother. So after like 57 years of fighting with her mother, being angry, she doesn't even live. Her mother's no longer alive, but she was very traumatized by her mother as a child. So it was a great success story, and I love working with my clients that are willing to do things a little unconventionally. So it worked out well.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, that's an amazing story. And I think sometimes, like that probably was just so unobvious to her because, I mean, sometimes these things were too close to them. So by you being able to interpret that picture and ask the right questions, I mean, then the like aha moment is so clear, and then I could see how the healing and understanding can come into play for sure.
Right. And the aha moment comes, the first time, just by the first time. I mean, there was a podiatrist who was having relationship issues. She drew a picture of her childhood. She was always, her relationship was always unstable. So she had issues with her womb, and that is about our sacral chakra, and that's about creativity and relationships and balance. So interesting enough, I had to draw a picture of her childhood, and here she's drawing herself like by herself in a rocking chair. And it's like, rocking chair is unstable ground. And interesting, she wasn't standing on her own 2 feet, and she became a podiatrist, which was just a lot of metaphors I use and coincidences. And, it's interesting what comes through.
That's unbelievable. So, how did you get into this? I mean, this is sort of, not a very mainstream, although very powerful profession. So, how did you arrive here?
Well, it was a pretty long journey, so I'm not going to give it all, but I started off, I am a child of Holocaust survivors. That's why I can relate to the issues at hand with some of my, those with, intergenerational post-traumatic stress disorder. I thank God I've manifested and I've transformed, and I'm very blessed to have my parents, but they're no longer with me. But I'm very, very blessed that I became their child, and but they were very controlling parents. They were because they lost so much family. So whatever family their new family they needed to hold on to, and it was all about staying small. If you imagine if there's have to stay small, so they're not caught. So it's all about staying small. Don't work so hard. Don't struggle, because they've done all that already. So it was very hard for me to shine my light. And every time I had a spark in my life, there were certain times in my life I felt I had a spark, and then I allowed somebody to blow out my spark. I didn't realize that I had the power within me not to let them blow it out. But I think my journey began with going to dental school, and I quit the day after orientation because I was now engaged to get married. And I also believe in signs in life. There's reasons for everything. And in the next 7 years, I got married. I had 4 children, and I lost both of my parents. So dental school would not have worked for me anyway. Anyway, so as I'm raising my children and I'm pursuing activities like, creative activities like dance classes and drama and art and photography and all kinds of classes and yoga, meditation, everything. But one thing I did that changed me a lot was my daughter. At the time, she was 8 years old, and I was studying photography at that point. And she said, I said to her, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And she said, "Ma, I wanted to be a mommy and do nothing like you." And that was like a stab to my heart, because I felt like I had the potential, and I was a mom of 4 kids. It wasn't nothing, but, I felt there was always something more to me than just being, Susie Homemaker. So, I don't know. Like I said, timing has it all. At my local temple, they're going on a mission to Macedonia, where they were housing Albanian refugees. At the time, there's a Baltic War, so there was a lot of fighting. And so, luck had it, I just jumped on the bandwagon with my group, and we went to this refugee camp with my camera in tow. And one of the reporters, Bergen Record and Jewish Standard reporters, I said, "If you take any great pictures, we'll use it." So that got me excited. I said, okay. So I started taking photographs, and I really, my photograph evoked so much emotion. I didn't know I was able to capture it. And also what I realized is this refugee camp was run by Israelis, and they provided, and I didn't recognize it at the time, but they provided art therapy and dance therapy and play therapy and music therapy. And I didn't realize, because I was behind my camera photographing everything, I wasn't really focusing on their healing techniques with these refugees and how amazing they were to help these people go through the process of healing. But so that was a life-altering experience for me, and I ended up having my photographs not only in the magazines and newspapers. There was shows. I had them in art galleries and in museums, and my proceeds I sent to the Albanian refugees, and it was very great. And I kept saying, "Okay, great. That's what I want to do. I want to be a photojournalist." And my husband says, "Where are you going with with 4 kids under the age of 8? You're not." And he was right. He's a realist. I'm an idealist, and the creative person that I am. Anyway, so as the kids were getting older and I'm no longer needed at home all the time, I started studying the yoga. I started energy healing, regressive therapies, science of medical intuition. So I started gathering all that information. And then my girlfriend said, why don't you go to the new school? They have this creative arts therapies program. And at that point, they said, you know what? Instead of going to the new school, why don't you just go for art therapy or dance therapy? And then I realized that all the credits I took in college and all the classes I took in art and dance, none of them would go towards the graduate school. And they would tell me, then I realized I have to go part-time to undergrad again. I have a degree in biology and psychology. And I it was too many years. So I went to this creative arts therapies program that the new school had. It was a 2.5-year program. And I just sat in the classroom on that first day and I said, oh my God, it just clicks. It's like everything, my knowledge, my experience really, really funneled into this class. And I became that annoying kid in the back room. It's like, oh, pick me, pick me. Like I know the answers. I can relate to it. And my papers, I realized if I read it now, I would say, who wrote this? Because I probably was so in the zone writing my research papers for these classes. Because I was so engrossed in it and I loved it. I connected to it. And that's why I'm using all the arts. I'm using art and drama and movement and writing. I took writing classes online. I keep my mind going. I'm constantly learning. There's not a day that goes by I don't learn something new.
That's amazing. That's absolutely awesome.
My first time at Google Hangout, so I'm learning something new today. I'm sorry.
And really, it's just example of how we really end up where we're supposed to be, and that sometimes all of these different experiences, whether we, kind of define them as good or bad, bring us and support what's really right in our lives. So, maybe you wouldn't have appreciated it as much if you were not, the child of or had certain experiences. So, to me, it all comes together just hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, just really all life experience. So, no matter what you go through in life, I always say there's never a wrong decision. Either the decision you make feels great, kudos to you. If it feels wrong, it becomes a lesson learned. And never take it for granted because it's part of your journey. It's not the end of a journey. It's just all part of your journey. Absolutely. I'm still growing,
Absolutely. So what are you working on right now?
So I'm actually doing a couple things. So right now I'm working on my own book, but I happen to contribute a chapter to an anthology called Life Sparks, and it's coming out in August. So I'm very excited. My chapter is called Crossing Bridges, and it's a little bit about my story about crossing bridges. But what was interesting, I'll bring up this topic, is when I was in the dark room, I was taking lessons, developing my film, and it was a picture of the George Washington Bridge. I lived in, New Jersey, in Bergen County, right near Manhattan. So there's a picture of the George Washington Bridge, and the teacher said to me, this is about, when I was turning 40, and I was going through my midlife crisis, not knowing what I was doing. And I said to her, and she said to me, like, oh, this is a beautiful bridge, but why can't you get to the other side? What is holding you back? And then I thought, how does she know? I'm still trying to figure that out. That was years ago. So that got me thinking about crossing the bridges and the story of, I don't know if you heard the story of the 3 Billy Goat Gruffs about crossing the bridge. And what prevents us from crossing our own bridges. So there's this old tale of Billy Goat Gruff where 3 Billy Goats come to the bridge, and under the bridge is this ravenous troll, and the ravenous troll jumps up when he sees the first Billy Goat, and the Billy Goat says, oh, don't eat me, try my bigger brother, he's right behind me, he'll be more full. So he let him go, and then the second brother came, and he said, well, my brother behind me is even bigger, you'll enjoy him more. So he let him cross. And then final brother, Billy Goat, he was so big with big horns, he just actually knocked him off the bridge, the troll off the bridge. And I look at the troll as our inner self negative talk, where we tell ourselves the negative things that prevent us from crossing our bridge. And only if we can be able to confront that troll, confront that inner negative talk, can we manage to cross over that bridge.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. That's great. And so that comes out in August, right? And
yes.
Are you
and if you order it, you can order it pre-sale on my website, artmendshearts.com. And with it, if you order pre-sale, you get a handout of my Crossing Bridge experiential that you can use for all ways of, all your endeavors, whatever you need to do. Whenever are you having a hard time crossing your own bridge, I will send you this drawing of paperwork that you can hand out, you can use to cross your own bridge. And I also provide a 30-minute complimentary consultation if you pre-order my book as well.
That's amazing. Are you still, let's talk about location a little bit, because people who come across this video could be from anywhere. Are you located in New Jersey? Is that where your office is?
I'm in Englewood, New Jersey. It's really near Manhattan, so in Bergen County. And people come from Manhattan. There's a city bus comes directly to my office, and so it's easy drop off. But I don't only work with individuals. I work with groups as well. I have my own workshops. I've done workshops. I'm doing this group of workshops called Shifting Through Art to Chi, and understanding each of your chakras so that you can know what's blocking, using art to understand what's blocking each chakra. And then I give you tools and strategies how to open up each chakra and use whatever's best for you. So I'm doing that. That's a live workshop. I'm doing an online workshop, my first one, starting Sunday. It's a online teleconference workshop for children of Holocaust survivors. So that would be my first online program, but I do a lot of in-person. I've worked for organizations, organization called Yachad, for instance. They have children with disabilities, whether it's learning or physical. And I did some workshop for Shasheret, which is an organization for women with breast cancer. And I've done some organizations for corporations, and learning how to deal with clients or your colleagues who are different personality types than you. And wow. I'll show you one workshop I did with that one, which is very cool. Do I have it here? Let me see. It's very cool because, I think one of the most important things about all living organisms is about adaptation. We will need to learn to adapt. And if we can't adapt, we can't move forward. We can't evolve. So this is one drawing I did. It was a group drawing. I don't know if you can see it.
Maybe you can put it just a little closer.
Okay, it's group drawing. So it looks like a mishmash, but it really means something. So I had everybody draw something about themselves, and they can either do it realism, or abstract. And they can use either crayons, markers, or colored pencils. So everybody took a moment to draw something about themselves for about 5 minutes. And then every 2 minutes, people rotated around the table. I'll show this in a minute. People rotated around the table, and they had to add to the other person's drawing. And if it's abstract, you must continue making it abstract. If it's real, you have to continue making it real. And you have to use the medium the original person started with. So if you started with pencil, everybody has to continue your work with pencil. So how do we adapt to each person's drawing? Now, there's this one person here in this drawing. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, this part over here, the person started off with abstract. She just made squiggly lines. And all of a sudden, you'll see there's the flowers are in there and the stars, and it should have been squiggly lines. So the one with the flowers, if you can't really tell, but she did flowers in everybody's drawings. So she did not adapt to people's drawings. So if you can't adapt to your client's needs, you're not going to do well in your work, right? There's this other one here, this part. Green straight lines, like here, these little flowers, right? She kept drawing these straight lines, dot, 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 dot. This woman is a lawyer. She's very straight-laced. She's very type A, and she can't like be any other way. She's very, So when she came back to her drawing, you can see over here, there's the yellow sun and there's some colorful flowers. And she came to me, she's like, do you think people are trying to tell me I should be softer and warmer? And I said, this is your interpretation, it's a reflection of how you think, right? So I don't tell my clients what the problem is. I want them to feel it, because you and I can have the exact same dream, for instance, but you related to your life and I related to my life. So it may mean something totally different. So, and that's another thing. I use dreams is you have to follow a dream. You have, another thing is journaling your dreams. Sorry, I'm talking so much, but when you journal your dreams, all of a sudden you'll find a pattern. And for instance, one of my patterns was during my process of transformation is every time I got to the airport, I couldn't get on the plane because I left either my passport at home or I left my suitcases at home. And my husband in my dream gets so angry at me, like, let's go already. Anyway, so as I'm journaling this and it came up often, I came to realize that the passport was my identity. And at that time, I was like my mom's mom, or my kid's mom, or my husband's wife. I would never figure out what I was yet. So that was my identity was lost. And also the suitcases. It's excess baggage that I have to let go of in order to store. So these are, great.
I am coming to you because I don't live very far from you. I live about 10 minutes from you.
Okay, good. You're always welcome.
I mean, it's fascinating. It's and honestly, I mean, I guess, when you're in a creative space or a creative zone, like that is truly kind of like your subconscious leading the way. It's not so like logical. And I do understand that, if you're going to something like therapy, when you're trying to articulate something, your brain has your brain kind of has to get in the way. So it's not as, to me, just listening and understanding everything, it doesn't seem as direct, actually, because you have to articulate it in a way that makes sense. And sometimes like these dreams or, your perception of your childhood, it doesn't always make sense in a logical fashion. So really like seeing it on paper or, in some other way, I could see how that could be, and transformational. So that's awesome. Yeah. How can people find out about, your workshops and seminars? Is it on your website?
It's on my website again. It's www.artmenshearts.com. They can subscribe to get my newsletters on the website. And my email is artmenshearts@gmail.com.
Okay, that is great. And I will definitely link to your website below the video so people can just click on it and get to you. So is there anything else you want to add or talk about that's coming up for you?
I'm just very happy to be here with you. This world that you're giving me, this opportunity, is really creating a space for me to not hide anymore and to shine my light. So I thank you. It was interesting, if I may add one more short story. I had an opportunity. Somebody said to me, oh, you have to sign up for this Awaken Fair. You have to go there. It's a great thing for your business. So I listened and I signed up. And then after I signed up, I said, I have no idea what I signed up for, because they said 6 spots left. So, of course, that urgency, you have to sign up. So I called them back the next 2 days and I said, what did I sign up for? He says, well, you're going to be a speaker. I said, what? And he said, yeah, you have to speak for 45 minutes. I said, what? So I said, what's the cancellation policy? I'm not sure if I can do that, because I've never spoken for that long. I've done workshops, but it's not like a lecture for 45 minutes. Anyway, so I went to it's a long story, but yellow flowers are my symbols. It's a different story, but so I went to this Hay House convention. I don't know if you're familiar with it. They have all these inspirational speakers there, and there's this guy, Robert Reeves, and he does flower tarot cards, and I'm not into that. I don't know it well enough to say, oh my God. But what was interesting is my girlfriend said, we have to go online. We have to go online. I said, okay. So we're waiting on this incredibly long line to get our card read. And I happened to have gotten the very last card. And yes, it was a yellow flower. But what was interesting about this particular yellow flower is that it's a daffodil. And he turns to me, he's like, oh my God, you need to speak. You see, the daffodil has a mouth. It has a mouth and it's a horn. You need to toot your horn. You have to get it out there. You have people, what good is it keeping the knowledge inside if you're not sharing it with others? So that was my sign of saying, okay, I have to speak. So I don't know what I did. I don't know how I put it together, but the night before I said, okay, let me get, I put things together, and the next day I got up and I spoke. There were only 6 people there, but I got into all 6, and I had this wow demo that just, I thank God. I do my meditation before I speak, before I work with my clients, and I thank God for giving me the gift and to, to work through me. And my wow demo just excited everybody, and people actually signed up to speak with me and work with me. So that was great. So that was my first confirmation. It's like, wow, they want to hear you too. So don't hide.
No, absolutely. And I think it would be interesting, and we could figure this out, is maybe, do a sort of follow-up interview where with somebody maybe that, I connect you to, that we could, do this experiential kind of process, maybe like live or on here. Somebody that will be willing to, showcase it, and you can kind of give your thoughts or something like that. So, I mean, we can certainly talk about that, because I think it's just totally fascinating, and, somebody a really good sense of, how the whole process works, and how, somebody, oh my gosh, like, I didn't even think of that.
Right,
So,
right. I would love to do that, but I just want to also mention that I am doing a webinar, an experiential webinar with a relationship coach. Her name is Valerie Green, and that will be July 13th at 8 in the evening, and you can find it again on my website. So people can tune in, and the 2 of us will do an hour experiential and discussion about relationships.
Well, I'm definitely tuning into that. Absolutely. Well, I'm so happy that, we finally connected and we got to do this interview, and I will link to your website, and, we'll discuss doing something maybe, more experiential or hands-on in our next interview.
That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
You too. Have a great day.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.